First, what is insurance? Insurance is a contract represented by a policy in which an individual or entity receives financial protection or reimbursement against losses from an insurance company. The company pools clients' risks to make payments more affordable for the insured. You're probably familiar with insurance if you have a car, if you own a home, or really just in general, if you have been around any facet of life, you have some experience or some contact with insurance. But in the business aspect, it's really a mitigator of your risk as well as your potential loss and potential liability. Next, we will talk a little bit more about why you need insurance. So first, why do you need business insurance at all? Well, if you're a sole proprietor or if you have a few employees, you might feel like you don't need small business insurance. Well, that's not necessarily true because really owning a business presents all sorts of risks, from potential risks to you as an owner, potential risk to your employees, to your customers, to any externality or aspect of your business. There's some degree of risk. And insurance can be a tool for mitigating and limiting potential losses and liabilities. And it really is kind of a small cost for certain types of insurance and for certain types of covered losses if you're talking about a loss that can in fact be covered. That being said, you probably have a business-specific type of insurance that you will need to seek out and seek some expertise on to find out what aspects of your business you can help mitigate that risk in. How does insurance work? Well, insurance coverage is the amount of risk or liability that is covered by your policy. So insurance protects the insured in the event of unforeseen occurrences known as covered losses. These covered losses are outlined in your policy, and the different types of kind of tiers of how those covered losses fall into the hierarchy determine the degree of premium and the degree of coverage that you may have based on that premium. The same way that insurers only cover certain types of losses, you too should think very carefully about what you can afford to self-insure about your business. So in other words, what risks would simply be too great of a financial burden to insure generally, and what coverages may be too costly not to have in the event of an accident or time of uncertainty. Next, we're going to talk a little bit how we can identify those and what sort of policies would help us mitigate. As you're aware, as a small business owner, all small businesses are different. So it takes some time to really identify and take a step back and assess what your needs and risks are. Generally, most small businesses have general liability insurance, property insurance, and commercial auto insurance. Some other common types of commercial insurance are professional liability, workers' comp, loss of income insurance, and more recently, if you're maintaining or in possession of other people's records digitally, cybercrime and data protection insurance. Kind of as an overarching umbrella, if you will, is the commercial umbrella policy. And this is kind of a safety net beyond any insurance that you have. So this can help cover and supplement over your policy limit for losses that may be catastrophic, unforeseen, or certainly unforeseen, but certainly not foreseen to that degree, and that you need this sort of policy in case of a rainy day, if you will. Next, we're going to talk a little bit how you can evaluate your policy. Once you have an idea of your risks and needs, it can be difficult to make sure that you have enough coverage to protect your business to the degree that you want to. Business owners, without doing their own proper independent research or seeking guidance from a trusted agent or professional, can be left feeling like they're spending too much or feel like they're cutting corners when they're getting their policy. And really, the fact of the matter is that that's okay, and it's your business, and you know it as well as anyone will. If you feel that you may be undercovered in some areas, that's fine, and you should go out and try to you should follow that hunch and figure out whether or not it's going to be an issue for you in the future. And it's good to have that foresight rather than be looking back and saying, I wish I would have had that coverage. But if over time you see that these risks are not as great as you thought, it's going to be something that you have to evaluate whether you think that's something that's going to be systemic or whether that's going to be something that's been just a temporary measure. And that kind of falls into a judgment decision for the business owner and really knowing the ins and outs of your business as well as your risks. When you're getting your policy, it's most important to know exactly what you're getting. Nothing could be worse than thinking that you're covered in the event of a loss and coming to find out that it's not a covered loss or that it's been, more specifically, excluded from your policy. So one thing you can do is to prevent this is to read and understand what your policy says and know exactly what you're getting and what you're paying for and how much you're paying for it. It's important on your end to be a prudent business owner and ask these questions about your policy to make sure that your coverage is right. And if it really comes down to it and you're not sure, it's best to turn to a professional like an attorney or some sort of other third-party insurance professional to take a look at your policy and give you an independent review of what their opinion is on your coverage and if they believe that it's enough or sufficient or even covers you at all. Congratulations, you're covered. Now what? Having insurance helps protect your business from covered losses and potential liabilities, but until accidents can be prevented, accidents can still happen even when things are going well, and you can be sure that they still will occur. That being said, it's especially important to operate your business with a risk aversion and risk mitigation mindset. How can you do this? Through implementing standard operating procedures specific to your industry to maximize safety and mitigate potential liability. You can do this by going online to the Secretary of State website to locate any required licensing or standard operating procedures, as well as other resources to direct you to those standard operating resources. In the long run, the coverage that's right for you may not be the same coverage now that it will be 5-10 years from now. So it's important to understand this and review your policy when it renews to determine, 1, whether you still need the coverage that you needed before, and 2, what new coverage you may need to accommodate your changing and growing business. Insurance can be intimidating, so the best way to help yourself, your business, and your insurance help you is to be informed and to ask questions when you're unsure. This is the best way to keep your insurance provider and yourself informed. Other ways to manage your risk outside of insurance include carefully drafting the language in your contract, such as waiver and indemnity clauses, that help shift your risk and liability similar to the way that insurance can help indemnify you from liability. You can also help shift your risk by forming certain types of business entities. For example, you can limit the liability of the owners to their investment in the LLC by forming an LLC. And also, in some businesses, working with independent contractors rather than hiring employees may be an option and can certainly help limit your liability.